Hello friends! If you follow this channel, you will know that Raymond and I just purchased, in the last bunch of months, the Fujifilm X100V and the Leica Q2, both cameras that I have adored ever since I first used them. And yeah, we finally decided just to go ahead and get them both because both of us really enjoy the small form factor, the fixed lens, fixed focal length experience. So what we are doing right now, though, we are pitting the two against each other in a shootout, in a death match, in a Fujifilm versus Leica project. And this is going to take a little bit of time, but Raymond and I did just finish round one, which was to take both of them to a museum, which only very recently opened, and boy was I delighted to get in there and get into the museum again. So before we get into that, something else that I'm working on right now is completing a long form course that I rolled out some time ago, and it is the Beginner's Guide to Classic Portraiture. My long form courses are available to members. So members, I will put a link to the first portion of that course in the description below. And if you are interested in those long form courses or the other benefits that members receive, I will put a link to learn more about channel membership down there as well. Okay, let's jump into what we did, the logistics of the whole thing. And then I'm actually I will talk about my experience at the museum, and then I'm gonna bring Raymond in and quiz him just a little bit on his experience. So I chose to shoot with the Fujifilm X100V, and which was convenient because Raymond wanted to shoot with the Leica Q2. He felt that he had less experience with the Q2, so he wanted to kind of dive into that one. He shot the X100F that we had prior to this a ton, so he kind of gets this camera. So anyway, how we set the cameras prior to going in was that we set them both in aperture priority. We used auto ISO for both of them, and we used exposure compensation when needed. The Fujifilm has a dedicated exposure compensation dial on it. I set the Q2 to use the top dial as exposure compensation when in shutter priority or aperture priority. So that's how we generally had the camera set. We just moved aperture around as needed for our artistic, needs. And we also shot in RAW the whole time. However, one thing that I did differently from Raymond is that my vision for my photos from this trip was for them to be monochrome. I do particularly like the Acros film simulation. I love all the film simulations in the Fuji, but I was thinking the Acros film simulation. Now, as I was shooting RAW, that film simulation wasn't baked into the file. However, I could see it in the viewfinder as I was shooting, so I knew what my photo was going to look like. And then I used Fujifilm's XRAW Studio, which is a free software that you can download and use with your Fuji camera, and you can apply those film simulations after the fact. So that's what I did. Really no reason to do that rather than shooting in JPEG. That's what I did at the time. I guess really so that I could have the raw files because we are doing kind of a comparison. I should also mention here, we do realize that these cameras are two very different cameras. The Leica is a full frame camera. The Fuji is an APS-C camera. They are natively different focal lengths. The Leica Q2 is a 28mm full frame focal length, and the Fujifilm X100V is a 35mm equivalent field of view. However, I used this wide angle conversion lens, which brought my field of view to 28mm, my effective field of view to 28mm. So I have a review of the Q2, and I have kind of a hands-on that I did with the X100V when I first used it. So I will put links to those down in the description. So if you want to know more about these specific cameras, you can watch those. But what else was my experience with this camera? Honestly, it was a delight. I love the small form factor and just the not thinkingness of a prime lens in a museum environment, because I can really enjoy what I'm looking at, especially since this was my first time back at a museum in months since they've been closed. And P.S., if you don't follow me, I love museums. They are one of my happy places. So I loved being able to go there and be very simple with this. I actually intended to switch back and forth between the 28mm field of view and then take the conversion lens off sometimes and use 35mm. I ended up doing that once. I kind of forced myself to do it, and then I just left the wide angle on. It felt really good. It felt right in that environment on that day. I also was reminded as we were walking around the museum and as we were leaving that I didn't think once about the camera itself. Autofocus never hiccuped. Even in those very low light situations, it just never had any issues. I am a little bit in awe, I guess, in thinking about cameras from even just a few years ago, where they really would have struggled in terms of autofocus, in terms of metering in these kind of low light situations or somewhat difficult situations where you've got some odd lighting or anything like that. But cameras these days have just gotten so smart, and it's so easy to trust auto ISO and to just occasionally, make adjustments where necessary. But yeah, it was a delight. Now, I don't want to talk anymore about my experience because it was grand and there's really not a lot more I can say about it. However, I do want to bring Raymond in here. I want to put him in the hot seat. I want to talk to him about how he felt about the Leica Q2 in this museum environment. And then I will come back around at the end to tell you what's next in this epic Fujifilm X100V versus Leica Q2 shootout. Very dramatic, right? All right, let's bring in Raymond. Okay, Raymond, so I talked about my experience in using a fixed focal length, fixed lens camera and making the case for how awesome I think that is. But what was your experience? What do you think the benefit of that is, or the drawback maybe, in terms of what we did in this particular case, which was just go out and have fun at the museum?
You see, the Q2 transcends space and time. It's not simply a fixed focal length lens. It has much more flexibility than it seems, partly because of the resolution and partly because the quality of the images. Even when you do the crop, the virtual, the virtual virtual teleconverter? I don't know what they call it. I know where the button that we set up for it is. Even when you crop in with it, the images look absolutely wonderful. I didn't do any of that at the museum, I don't think. Not even one time. Not even one time. At the Heard Museum, which is not vast, there's areas where you are in tighter quarters. So the 28mm focal length was really perfect. I never felt like I wanted to crop in. I took pictures of you with the X100V and I just got close is what I did there. So for me, in that situation, 28mm lens at f1.7 is absolutely wonderful.
So aside from the focal length, how was your experience using the Q2?
It's very quiet. It's just the right size. It's unobtrusive. It's not like walking around a museum with a DSLR or a big mirrorless camera with a big lens. For a lens that's as fast as it is at f1.7, it's very compact, even among prime lenses, and that's part of Leica's heritage as well. I don't seek out museums nearly as much as you do, but when I'm there, this is the camera that I want. This is the experience that I want. It's unobtrusive for the other people, but it's unobtrusive for me. There's very little difference between looking through the viewfinder, which is very high quality as an EVF, ridiculously high quality. There's very little difference when you're looking through the viewfinder and just looking around. It's not removing me. If anything, it brings me more in to the museum.
What about editing? How did you edit these images? How did you find editing these images?
The thing about the Q2 is, one, what I really like is natively it's DNG files. So if you're working in Lightroom or Photoshop, it's one for one, right? It doesn't have to go through any kind of conversion process to neutralize or normalize from whatever brand it is. It's just natively in a format that those tools understand. The other thing that I like about actually editing the images is there's so much there, but so if I want to do something particularly creative, if I want to do something with the shadows, color balance, highlights, I haven't found the limits yet. And maybe part of that is because the images have that tone or Leica quality to them, kind of soft and crisp at the same time. I like using a lighter hand editing with them because they sort of have their own life, and the more I try to do to the images, the more I feel like I'm disrupting that. And again, the working in the museum, it's appropriately lit for the artwork already. So in terms of lighting, it's certainly not bright, but it's a best case situation in terms of the quality of the light, the way that everything's lit, because a lot of care has been put into that just for people to browse the museum. So when you're imaging that, everything looks very nice as well.
What about how you have the camera set up? I happen to notice that you set up the camera to remove all of the information with the exception of the focus point from the viewfinder. What are you doing, man?
Yes, it even bothers me to have the focus point, the little cross there, but I want to control the focus, so I need to have it there. What's funny is, like, on a D780, which we recently reviewed, on some of these mirrorless cameras back here, I actually put as much information on the screen like as is relevant to what I'm doing. With the Fuji, you can do all kinds of, you can get down to the individual data element. And I really haven't explored that on the Leica because of the quality of the EVF, because of the environments like museums that we tend to take this. I want that stuff out of the way. Just don't feel like I need it. It's one of the first things I did with the camera is, how do I get rid of this stuff? I don't need it. I don't want it.
All right, I have one last question for you. Where did you disappear to?
I got very anxious that we were going to switch cameras, so I made sure that I was out of your vision, but I was stalking you, and I got some cool pictures of you as you were looking at some artwork. You busted me about halfway through, but I don't think I had you move or anything like that. Like, you were in this dark room. It was so cool. She was in this dark room. I don't know if it's under construction or if that's the intention or something. Do you know what they're doing with the exhibit?
It's a new acquisition.
It's a new acquisition. Okay.
Featuring it.
So they're featuring it. There's this like 30 foot by 30 foot room that's completely dark. It's got the one painting at the far wall. It's got like the polished concrete type floor, so you have the reflection on the bottom. And I saw where she went. I went in and I was like, whoa, this is weird. And she's standing there looking at this painting, which is so cool. We should all have a room in our house, which is just like 30 feet by 30 feet. And then this has one picture painting at the far end. And it was so quiet because there was only like 10 people in the whole museum. So you could hear a pin drop. And she's looking at this artwork. And I'm like, oh, I need to sneak over here and get this picture. And it nailed the focus. I didn't even have to think about it. And to me, that's so much what the Q2 is for. It didn't distract you. You were admiring the painting. It didn't remove me from the scene. It let me, it deepened me into the scene, and I could get this picture in this ridiculously challenging circumstance of a completely dark room just lit down at the end, which was obviously going to put you in silhouette, which looked cool. And it just all, it's not the best picture in the world, but it just all came together, and I didn't have to change lenses. I didn't need to think about aperture. It was just all there. All could come together like that. And so yes, I was stalking you.
All right then. Thanks for joining us today. Now get out of my seat. So unsurprisingly, Raymond and I enjoyed our time with these cameras in the museum. We purchased these cameras. That's why we purchased these cameras. But the whole point of what we're doing and going through kind of these different, we're planning to go through these different situations with these guys is to help you all out there figure out which one might be right for you, because that is a common question that I get on anytime I discuss one or the other of these cameras is, well, I kind of want the Q2, but should I just get the Fuji because it's less expensive? It's largely a personal preference. However, I'm sure that along the way we'll find places where one or the other excels, and that might speak to you. So let me talk about just the last couple of things that I was thinking about while Raymond was answering my questions. And that is a couple of additional things that he and I do differently. And I just think it's interesting to find out how other people work. So I wanted to share these two items with you. Number one, I have our camera straps here because I wanted to show you Raymond likes to use a wrist strap. So you'll notice that we always have these little, we call them pigtails, on the cameras that we own, or even a lot of times when I'm borrowing cameras, I'll put these on. And these are just from Peak Design, as are the straps. And that's because we like to change out our camera straps often. We share cameras, and one of the things that we do is switch out the camera straps. So Raymond likes to use the wrist strap, and I like to use the full strap. This is called, I think this is called the leash. It's just a thinner strap. And I like to use this so that I can put my camera down and just be fully in the moment of looking at a piece of art without having to hold on to anything. And while Raymond doesn't mind holding on to something. Anyway, I thought that was, that's kind of a funny little tidbit. We're always switching back and forth. If we were to have switched cameras in the middle, like we initially were going to, we would have switched the straps as well. And the last thing is that I actually took a note of this, of the numbers. I took 29 photos when we were at the museum. We were there for a while, but I took 29. I have always taken fewer photos than Raymond in general in any given time period, but I've also been trying to be a little more mindful. I actually discussed this in my video on workflow and storage and backups of large file sizes. I'll link to that video down below, but I discussed being a little more mindful in my photography and not taking as many photos purposefully so that I was only taking the photos that I wanted and having to store photos that I really wanted. So anyway, I shot 29, right? Raymond captured 56. Nearly double the number of photos that I took. And I just thought that was really funny because we're all different. And that's kind of the point, right? We're all different in how we like to shoot. Some of us are gonna like one camera over the other. And that's what this journey is about, this comparison project. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I mentioned lots of things that I would link in the description, so check those out before you head out. And also give this video a like if you found it at all helpful, or you want to see Raymond in videos more often. And also subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It is super helpful to support the channel in that way. So thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.